Maverick. Noun, unusual person. A visionary, leader, go-getter, an independent thinker. They see the vision for their life and pull that future towards them with an unyielding belief that things can and must be better. They achieve what most won't. Innovative, influential, daring, and direct, with a remarkably high tolerance for taking calculated risk. A foe to the status quo. This is Passive Real Estate Investing with Mavericks. Your host, Neil Timmons, has been involved with over $300 million in real estate transactions. He's a published author, commercial property investor, and real estate syndicator. This show is for those who want to learn how to earn passive income through real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Neil Timmons.
In this episode of Passive Real Estate Investing with Mavericks, I sit down with Robert Preston to uncover the real estate's best kept secret, RV parks. Welcome to Passive Real Estate Investing with Mavericks, where we provide actionable steps to grow your passive income and become job optional. During this episode, you're going to get to discover real estate's best kept secret, RV parks. For those of you who are new, I'm your host, Neil Timmons. I love passive income from real estate. Now, before I introduce you to today's Maverick, I want to make a request that if at any point you like what you're hearing, well, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the show to never miss a valuable episode. And if you love what you're hearing, well, give us a written review. Plus, be certain to take a look at the description of this episode as we packed it with thousands of dollars in free resources. Now, today, we've got the privilege to learn from a person who's been in multiple asset classes and zeroed in on what he calls just a cash flow monster. Prior to his career in real estate, he was a pilot. Now he's a retired pilot from our government. It all changed eventually when he latched on to this cash flowing asset class of RV parks. I would describe today's Maverick, who's passionate about RVing and also making money what he calls the easy way in a better asset class, RV parks. I want to introduce you to today's Maverick. I've got Robert Preston here with me. Robert, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you here. Hey, for the audience's sake, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
Yeah, Robert Preston, currently live in Pensacola, Florida. I own an investment company called Climb Capital. And right now, primarily what we do is buy, operate, syndicate RV parks, either through a fund or through single assets. So yeah, privileged to own 10 RV parks right now and continue to add.
It's going to be a fun conversation because RV parks have, some people get exposed to it and some people don't even think about the idea. Let's start at the beginning. Tell me about the very first commercial property, the very first commercial deal you bought.
Yeah. Okay. First, love the concept of Maverick. I was a Marine Corps pilot, Osprey pilot. So, growing up, Top Gun, Goose, Maverick, that was like posters on the wall. So
love it. Thanks for the service.
Yeah, definitely associate myself as a little bit of a Maverick there. So yeah, first commercial property was actually a pretty small, it was a 16 site mobile home park here in a local town where I live. We'd previously been flipping houses, wholesaling single family houses, and, wanted to get into the passive rental income game and found a pretty sweet deal on a 16 site mobile home park. And that's what started it all.
How'd you source that one?
We sourced it actually through wholesaling. So one of the other, wholesalers that I was buying houses that we were flipping, he came across the deal and said, yeah, I've got this. I don't really know what to do with it. I said, I'll buy it. I'll take it. So paid him a little fee and bought it.
Yeah. How'd you end up funding that deal?
So that was actually funded through Navy Fed credit union. I was very surprised. I never thought of them as a commercial lender, but as I dug into it and started shopping for some debt, they actually gave us a really competitive, this is 2015. They gave us a really great competitive rate. And, we've actually done some more commercial deals with them.
Yeah. What did you, do you still own that today? Did you end up selling it? Where'd you go with that property?
We do actually. I do actually still own that. This is the only property that I've owned more than 5 years. So I bought it in 2015 for, we paid $200,000 for it, and I'm listing it for sale this summer for $950,000. So it's kind of a small deal, but great returns.
Yeah, just incredible. Would you learn more? So over the past 8 years of owning that, what were the learning lessons in that particular deal?
Yeah, so it really just kind of exposed me first and foremost of, a lot of times the more lucrative cash flowing, better, higher cap rates, better yield returns aren't going to be very pretty, aesthetically from the outside. So, as you pull up to your first new purchase mobile home park and you're a brand new commercial real estate investor and you see something that's not really Instagram worthy, right? That can be a little disheartening, but the results, numbers are numbers. So I think it taught me to really focus on the underwriting perspective, focus on the raising rents, improving a property, changing the dynamics of the tenant profile, that true compounding effect that commercial real estate allows you to force appreciate it, even though maybe it's not the prettiest asset you want on your website.
Bring me current. Tell me about your most recent deal.
Yeah, most recent deal. Actually, we closed RV Park Monday of this week.
Okay.
And that's in Nashville. It's a 60 site park. And it's an add-on park to another one that we own on the north side of Nashville. So that brings our site count there in between these two parks beside each other, right about 150 sites for those two parks. That's our most recent deal. We'll close on one next week. Of course, this is recorded, but we close on the next week, and that's just north of the Grand Canyon in Arizona. That's a 140 site RV park that's owner financed. We're really excited about that one.
Talk to me. We'll get in one of these two deals here a little more granular, but talk to me about the transition into RV parks. And so, what attracted you to it? How'd you get turned on to it? And tell me just a little more about that.
Yeah, so a lot of life events, life story goes in there. I'll make it concise as I can. So we bought the first mobile home park 2015, right? Small deal. That then led to buying more mobile home parks. That subsequently led to buying your typical Class C, maybe even a Class D apartment complex that we would renovate, reposition, bring back up, the typical thing that everyone did throughout all the 2010s. And so going pretty well there, had about 1,000 unit portfolio going into 2020 on multifamily side of apartments and mobile home parks. And that year, July of 2020, is also when I got out of the Marine Corps. So up to that point, it was full-time Marine Corps pilot, full-time real estate investor, obviously not a lot of extra time in life to do stuff. And so got out in July of 2020. I bought a big motorhome, loaded up the family, the dogs, everything, and spent like 2 months on the road. Okay. And also, obviously, that COVID happened, eviction moratoriums happened, a lot of stress, a lot of stuff there. A lot of tenants stopped paying just because they could, not necessarily because they, and so that became very frustrating to me, and just kind of caused me to rethink some things. And as I was traveling, I realized that in these RV parks, everyone I met was generally pretty happy, right? And we met great people. The owners were always there. They made relationships. I was like, that doesn't happen when I go to my apartment complexes. I'm not going to take my family and hang out there for the weekend at the pool, So it was a bit of a lifestyle change too. Like, if I'm going to be fully invested into this company and work 100 hours a week, I want to be able to do that with my family, not just for my family. And so it is an asset class that I can load up the crew, and I'm working and they're playing, and they don't know the difference and I don't know the difference. So there was a lifestyle decision there. And then, coming to that realization that, yes, I'm the owner of this apartment complex, but, a government agency or whatever you want to call it can come in and say, hey, your tenants don't have to pay you anymore. That was kind of a deal breaker, game changer for me, and said, I need to find something else that I have a little more control over. So I've, sort of by luck, sort of by chance, my lifestyle fell into the RV park side of it, which to me really is almost the same thing. I have almost all the same positives of cash flow and depreciation and, all the stuff that I would have in multifamily asset, but I have also very little downsides in the eviction process and the, housing laws. At the end of the day, it's a customer. If they don't pay, they don't stay. And customers pay before they get there. They're happy they're there. We're happy. It's just, I don't know. It just, to me, it was a pretty easy decision once I logically thought it through.
What about it makes it an attractive investment? I get it from a lifestyle standpoint, but what makes it an attractive investment versus, versus some other asset class? Let's call it non-apartment, some other asset class.
What makes a great investment? So obviously it's the return. With leading up, as you guys know, leading up throughout the 2000s, the competition for multifamily, for mini stores, for office, for industrial, right, there was tons of money pouring into there.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the prices go up, returns go down. So that didn't really happen with RV parks, which means we can still go in and buy really decent, really nice RV parks at 10 caps, at 12 caps. And so there's built-in yield right at the purchase. We don't have to raise rents to then produce cash flow like a lot of other assets. You're counting on that year 2, year 3 rent bump. So that's a really nice part. As to us was the amount of depreciation that actually still could be captured in an RV park. A lot of, my stereotype was, hey, there's not much buildings, there's not much stuff there can't be that much depreciation. So it's actually sort of the opposite, because there's so little structures. What is there can be depreciated because the land value is still the land value from, put an apartment complex beside a RV park, the land value acreage is still going to be the same. So what little is there in structure can be depreciated much more rapidly on a cost seg,
because it's heavily infrastructure and heavily gets depreciated on that 15-year basis. So you're getting tons of bonus, right?
Yep. So that was a pleasant surprise kind of for us, getting more down the road and becoming more professional into this. So there's 2 barriers to entry to RV parks, and they're big. And that's why the prices have continued to stay relatively low compared to other assets. The debt is less sophisticated, and there's less institutionalized debt, which means me, the sponsor, typically I'm having to personally guarantee that debt or do other things that a lot of sponsors are unwilling to do. And I'm willing to do that. So that is a big barrier to entry.
Yeah.
And then there's the management side of it. And there's generally not a third-party service that can come in and say, hey, here's my park. Please manage it for me like you can in other assets. So we had to basically create a management company. And so we're fully integrated on the ownership management side of that to be able to still buy parks and grow them from larger than just one park at a time.
Yeah, it's almost, is it fair to say, and I experienced this in self-storage, and it's pretty obvious in the self-storage. It's not just a real estate play. You've got a consumer-facing fronting business. You've got an operation there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Same thing you're experiencing there.
Absolutely. It's a hybrid between, technically we call it outdoor hospitality, but it's a hybrid between a hotel and a mobile home park. It's got a hospitality component that's really important. But it has a tangible asset component of it that's very similar to a mobile home park.
Right. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. How are you going about finding these at this point in time?
So that's the secret sauce, right?
All right, good.
No, it's very simple. We hustle a lot with making sure every broker knows who we are and what we're looking for. That's a big component of it. So I would say 50% of our deals are still sourced from brokers. And then the other 50% is we have some off-market marketing campaigns, whether that's direct mail, text campaigns, cold calling, just general networking, getting website SEO type stuff. We're trying to source those off-market deals.
Flip a coin, right? Half between the broker and half between working your seller direct avenues.
I always prefer to work with a direct to seller if I can. That's always makes it more efficient. But
the one in Arizona, tell us a little more about that. Tell us about the seller financing component. From the outside looking in, and certainly we experience that more in the mobile home parks, is that a seller financing component is more likely to happen in the asset class versus, say, apartments, for example, or industrial or retail.
Yeah. So this is it's about 140 site park. We're buying it for $2.8 million, which is a really good deal because its gross revenue is $1.1 million. So it's a really strong deal for us. The financing is 70% of that purchase price at 5%, 10-year term, 30-year amortization. So it's, in today's
strong financing. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty excited about it. So, yeah. And that was a simple conversation of, hey, would you like to not, pay capital gains? Would you like to kind of spread that out? And so the seller was like, yeah, what good is this money to me? I'm going to have to just find a place to reinvest it. And that's a decent return. So,
right. Yeah. Tell me, there's lots of opportunities, I'm sure, that pop in your lap. What separates a deal from an opportunity?
So for us, it's 2 things, right? It's always return-based. There are a lot of deals, a lot of opportunities out there that are, in my opinion, just overpriced. So, if you're starting below break even, then you're just asking for trouble. And again, so we see a lot of right now 6.5, 5.5 cap rates of that's what the seller wants. That's what they're offering. And maybe a year ago that was an okay deal, but definitely not a good deal right now. So we've got to come in, we want to be buying things that are at least a couple points above our interest rate on our purchase cap rate. I'm not a guy who buys next year's cap rate. Like that's my money. That's not the seller's money. So we stick pretty hard on making sure we're evaluating on what is today. And then geographically for us, one of our big criteria is that the park needs to be open all year. So I love, I use the illustration. I love Wyoming. I love Yellowstone. It's beautiful during the summer, but not a great place to invest for us anyways, because it's shut down 4 or 5 months of the year.
Yep.
So I go vacation out there, but I don't own out there. So for us, that's kind of the Sun Belt throughout the Southeast and Sun Belt, kind of a geographic criteria there to be open all year, close to interstates, close to cities, water feature, pool, lake, beach, some type of aesthetic that draws people in.
Something that really much can't be replicated. Tell me, speaking of replication, I know there's inside the mobile home park asset class, almost no new mobile home parks are being built at all, right? It's too challenging. Municipalities can't stand them. They don't want new ones, et cetera, et cetera. What are you seeing? How does that compare to RV parks though?
Very similar, actually. Maybe slightly less contested and slightly less hesitation, but the fear for most neighbors, most municipalities is that a RV park can turn into a mobile home park very quickly. And then if it does go that route, as far as the being run that way, then it becomes worse than a mobile home park. So we do face a lot of opposition on new construction. Some benefit is mobile for an RV park. It doesn't have to be city center, right? There's some value to actually being more remote,
right,
as a destination. So that does afford a little more flexibility on where you can put one. There are RV parks being built. There's some big Margaritaville building, some really nice high end, and they're becoming like true resorts, water slides, integrated hotels, bars, et cetera. So that is the newer model that most of the institutional money is coming to, is, a 500 to 600 site park that has arcades and zip lines and all that type of stuff. So there's an opportunity there. It is still very similar to mobile home parks in the difficulty of getting it ready to go.
Yeah. Tell me, when for passive investors' sake, what should they be looking for when they're looking at an operator? There's lots of opportunities. Just that you just defined, what makes a deal separate from opportunity. So from a passive investor standpoint, they call those opportunities sponsors, people like you and me. What would make them, what should they be looking for? What should they latch onto when it comes to talking to folks that makes an operator a strong operator?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the generic stuff, experience, skin in the game. I think we're going to see a lot of pain come in the next couple of years, not because there's an asset type that's doing better or poor. You hear a lot of talk about commercial real estate not doing good. I don't think that's true. I think that it was ill-structured deals, a couple of years ago that are counting on refinancing as a part of the return, or counting on being able to refinance at 3.5%, or so anytime I think it goes back to the deal. If a sponsor brings you a deal and the returns are predicated on interest only type debt or a refinance type scenario 2 or 3 down, and that's what's generating the return, that to me has always been a red flag of structuring something that way. Vice making sure, and those are great strategies. I absolutely would do those, but if that's the only way to make the deal work, then I think that's a bit of a stretch. So, knowing history, knowing past records, seeing some actually full cycle deals, that bought and sold. Everyone's, probably had something that failed. So, talk about that one. What's a failure? What's a bad deal look like for you? That's, and then talk to other investors that are working with that sponsor and see what they have to say.
Tell me about your communication plan. How do you keep investors informed throughout the life cycle of investment?
Yeah, great question. So we do monthly updates. That's profit and loss statements, balance sheets, probably some type of anecdotal reason for fluctuations in there. I actually do a quick little 2-3 minute video similar to this on Zoom. Nothing special. Me just talking through that gets sent out monthly. For us, we do quarterly distributions, and then of course at the end of the year is a big annual wrap up.
Yeah. A limited partner has vetted a sponsor, somebody like you and me. They're going, okay, I think I really want to work with them. Now it's time to look at a particular opportunity, whether it's this deal or the next one that comes down the pipeline. What separates those from what type of questions should they be asking? Where should they be focusing inside of a particular opportunity?
Yeah. For me, I'm trying to always kind of gauge, we call it lateral limits in the military, right? What's the maximum in either direction I can go? What's the safety buffer there? And so when I look at a deal, I'm going to look at, like, from the negative side, what's the minimum break even standpoint, whether it's occupancy or rate, or obviously the combination of those two that keeps me at a cash flow neutral there. And so what's that buffer, right? And so if that buffer is, let's call it 30% less than what the perform is, then, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. At the end of it, making less money is not preferable, but that's okay. And breaking even is worse, but losing money is really bad, right? And so most of us would agree, like, as long as we can kind of break even or do better, we're in the safety zone. So I'm going to look at that, and we look at that a lot with our RV parks. And one of the reasons we switched to RV parks was there's generally a pretty large buffer there of our break even point when you look at either from a vacancy standpoint or rental rate standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Tell me about this year, 2023. What are you most excited about this year?
Yeah, I'm most excited about this year. We've really kind of revamped our company and very focused on what we're doing. We've got a deal pipeline going. We've got multiple deals going. So we're going to launch a brand. We're going to launch from a customer facing brand, an RV park brand. So I'm excited to kind of put that on a couple of our key parks and see how it does, and then eventually expand that out and create a network of parks that, from a customer's perspective, they realize are tied together.
Climb Capital. What's the genesis of the name?
Bunch of pilots, so Climb, it's going up.
Yeah.
Returns are going up.
Yeah. I knew there had to be a story behind it. That's why I asked. Yeah.
It's pretty, we're not that creative.
I love it. I want to move on to the final segment, what I call the final four. Sure. What do you think holds most passive investors back from hitting their personal next level, whatever that personal next level is?
Oh, that's, I think, probably the same thing that holds most people back. They overthink everything, and they never take the next step. They never take any action steps. Yeah. It's Will Smith. Love kind of basically the gist of his quote is fail quickly and fail forward. Some people think not having the perfect deal is a failure instead of having, an average or good deal. Let's take action. Let's get moving.
Outside of real estate, what are you most passionate about?
Family, loves the kids, wife, kids. We do a lot of RVing together, but probably the hobby wise is boating. I'm trying to learn how to wake surf this summer.
All right.
So we spend a lot of time on a boat. Yeah.
Your favorite book?
Favorite book? Toss up between Rich Dad Poor Dad and Pitch Anything by Warren.
Yeah, that's a good one. What's your favorite way to make an impact in the community?
So we are pretty passionate about children. So my wife and I are foster parents. We have a couple biological kids. We have a couple that we've also adopted out of foster care. So, believers, spend a lot of time in church. So we do a lot of work with, I feel pretty passionate about the essentially orphans in foster care.
It's terrific. See, we launched the Maverick Vault, a collection of resources available to our listeners. I understand you're making a contribution to the vault. The 3 proven strategies to double your investment through RV parks. It's an ebook. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, happy to provide it. Pretty simple. It's going to break down, again, spoiler, it's not unique to RV parks. It's unique to any asset class. When you come in, you expand, you increase the rates, you decrease the expenses, you increase the NOI. obviously you force the appreciation on there. So what we're going to just talk about, some real key things that are more specific to RV park, like the camp store. How does opening a camp store and bringing in another $100,000 of revenue, compound that with increase in the rental rates and increase in the occupancy. All of a sudden, you've doubled the value of a property almost overnight just by changing some operational practices in the park.
A wonderful contribution. You guys can get it at www.themaverickvault.com. Robert, this is a wonderful conversation. It's fun to have a deeper understanding of the RV park world, because it's something that just, it's kind of one of those asset classes not very, very, very not spoken about very often. And I understand, it's been around in this country for years, decades and decades and decades. And certainly it's become more prevalent on the backside of COVID, right? Couldn't travel anywhere. And so COVID has really spiked the people who've gotten exposed to RVs, to RV parks, just to what this is. And you're right. I rented one. It's probably been 6-7 years now at this point. Took the kids, the dogs, loaded everybody up, and went to 5 states. And you literally meet some of the happiest people I think I've ever met in my life at an RV park.
It's so much fun. It's a community that doesn't exist anymore. Like, no one knows their neighbor anymore, but you go to RV park, within 10 minutes, your kids have formed this biker gang and they're running around. Like, it's just happy people.
Yeah. It's really neat. For people who want to find you, they want to follow you, they want to connect with you, where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah. Website is climbcapital.com, CLIMB capital.com. Of course, that's going to have links to all the socials and stuff. So that's the best way. There's a contact us form. Feel free to reach us. Email info@climbcapital.com or just climbcapital.com.
Wonderful. Links below in the show notes for everybody. Robert, I appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye. To our listeners, pat yourself on the back. You guys have made it to the end of the show, and most people never finish what they start. If you receive value from today's show, be sure to share it on LinkedIn, your Facebook page, or your social media platform of choice. Subscribe to never miss a valuable episode in the future. And if you found value in today's episode, give us a thumbs up with a positive review. If there's a particular topic you'd like to hear about, well, I want to hear from you. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. The link to my profile is below in the show notes. You can connect with me there for more valuable content.